Gentleman is a 2020 action crime drama comedy film written and directed by Guy Ritchie. And the movie's about marijuana kingpin, played by Matthew McConaughey, that is trying to retire, and basically how that sets off all these other gangs and people trying to take advantage of him and all the craziness that ensues. One of the things I love the most about The Gentleman is Matthew McConaughey and Charlie Hunnam. Matthew McConaughey is this crime lord kingpin, and Charlie Hunnam is his henchman, and they are like the epitome of cool. Let me tell you, I'm a Christian man. I'm not a criminal. I try not to break the law, but they made breaking the law look so freaking cool. Matthew McConaughey and Charlie Hunnam are cooler than a freezer in the middle of Antarctica. They're cooler than an ice cream cone in the middle of Alaska. They are so cool. Just the way they work together, how capable they both were. There are people that try to take advantage of them, and they put them to the test, but they always nearly are the ones that are in control. And I felt like the entire movie, they were just the coolest characters I've seen in a long time. They reminded me of, in a different kind of way, but they reminded me of like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just in terms of the working relationship, they care about each other, and they're all badasses. I just really liked their characters. I really did. And Matthew McConaughey in particular, his ability to monologue, his charisma, his command of the screen. I mean, there were times in this movie he just ate up the scenery. There are some scenes where he's like downright scary, the way that he kind of lords over some people, and loved every second of it. I've never seen Matthew McConaughey scary. I didn't watch Dark Tower. I heard he wasn't all that scary in that movie, but yeah, he is downright imposing. The level of like control that he had of this character was just a joy to watch. I just loved it. Kind of have a man crush on Matthew McConaughey and Charlie Hunnam. Don't tell my wife. I would watch it again really just for Matthew McConaughey and Charlie Hunnam. And that's not to say the rest of the cast wasn't great. I felt the rest of the cast was perfect. I felt like this movie was perfectly cast. Colin Farrell had like a smaller role, but he was hilarious. That's another thing I loved about this movie, is the dark comedy. It is every bit as funny as it is cool. 50-50 chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream. The comedy in this movie, it reminded me of like Black Mirror a little bit. Just the absolute insanity that the script and the movie gets to. There's just parts of the movie where you just are like shaking your head like, oh my gosh, like the movie actually went there. In terms of like the ways that people die, or the ways that certain people are blackmailed. One of my favorite parts of the movie was there's the flashback sequence. And I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a flashback sequence showing how somebody rose to power. And one of my pet peeves about flashback sequences in movies is that oftentimes they cast a younger actor that and it's kind of a crapshoot whether they actually look like the main character. But the way that Guy Ritchie shot this scene was from the back of their head. You're following this character as he's like up and coming and talking to people, and you never actually see the front of his face. You just see the back of his head. And I'm like, what a brilliant way to shoot a flashback sequence. He got the point across, but you never were like taken out of the movie because, oh my gosh, this actor doesn't look like the character he's supposed to look like. I thought it worked really well, and I'm like, why doesn't every movie in the flashback sequences do this? Because it was brilliant. It was great. Another thing I liked about the directing was just the fast pace the movie had. I loved some of the effects that are on screen to help tell the story. I thought they worked really well. Even just having text, on top of a building or like over somebody, or the movie is very visual in the comedy, and I felt like the visual effects that were like kind of sprinkled throughout the movie really helped tell the story better and helped with the comedy in particular. So I really loved that. What would I rate this movie on the sweet and sour scale? It is a sweet film. It's like an ice cream cake. Okay, it's not the best cake in the whole world, but it is a cake. It gets the job done. It's a good cake. Ice cream cake is where I drop The Gentleman. I really like this movie. If you like any of the actors or actresses in this movie, go watch it. If you're a fan of Guy Ritchie, go watch the film. If you're a fan of like action comedies, I'd say go watch the movie. My name is J. Mark Schwartzentruber, and as always, if you're like me and you like watching movies more than playing golf, consider subscribing, and also consider checking out my recent review for The Turning, a 2020 horror film that was bad, starring Finn Wolfhard. I enjoyed making that review, and as always, thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.